Hi friends, today's story is from Knowledge 1 Lesson 3. We will be listening to Beauty and the Beast Part 1. Our first vocabulary word we're going to go over today is astonished. Repeat after me, astonished. Astonished means amazed or surprised. Our next word is fortune. Say fortune. Fortune means great wealth or riches. Our last vocabulary word is merchant. Say merchant. Merchant is someone who buys and sells goods. Once upon a time, in a faraway country, there lived a merchant with his 3 daughters. The merchant was very rich indeed. He had more money than he needed until a series of great misfortunes occurred. First, the merchant lost 2 of his biggest ships full of cargo in a great storm at sea. Then he was forced to give up his lavish home in the city because he could no longer afford to pay for it. The merchant lost his fortune and he was left with nothing. He told his daughters they would have to move to a little cottage in the woods far from town and work hard and live simply. The 2 older daughters complained bitterly, for they had grown accustomed to the life of luxury. But the youngest daughter, who was called Beauty, always tried to make the best of things. Several months later, the merchant heard that one of his ships, which he thought had been lost at sea, had in fact landed with cargo of valuable goods to sell. As the merchant prepared to make for the long trip to the city to claim his goods, he asked his daughter what he might bring them when they returned. The eldest daughter asked for a fancy gown. The second daughter asked for a diamond necklace. But Beauty, who had plenty of things she wished for, but none that her father's money could buy, replied politely, "Please bring me a rose, for I have not seen one since we came here, and I love them so much." When the merchant finally reached the ship, he found that most of his goods had been stolen. He sold what remained and made just enough money to buy a dress for his eldest daughter and a necklace for his second daughter. Then he set on home. On the way home, snow began to fall. It covered the road and made it hard to see. The wind blew so hard it almost knocked the merchant off his horse. He was worried that he might get lost in the blizzard. The merchant decided that he should stop at the next house he came to and wait there until the storm passed. Eventually he came upon a large palace with lights blazing. He knocked, but no one answered. He found that the door was unlocked, so he opened it and peered inside. "Hello," he called out, but there was no answer. He stepped into the foyer and brushed the snow off his coat. Curious yet hesitant, the merchant slowly made his way into a large dining hall. To his surprise, a fire was burning in the fireplace, and a little table had been set with a sumptuous meal, just right for one person. "Hello," he called again. "Is anybody here?" Again, there was no answer. The merchant inspected the food. "Is someone eating this food?" he asked. "Would you mind if I had a few bites? I've been riding in a bitter snowstorm and—" he continued. But when there was no reply, the merchant decided he would have a few bites and then go look for the gracious host. After he had eaten, he set off to find the owner of the house to thank him. He wandered through the rooms on the ground floor, but neither master nor servant appeared. At last he stepped outside into a beautiful garden. The merchant was astonished to discover that the garden was in full bloom, even though it was the middle of winter and most of the countryside was covered in a thick blanket of snow. In the garden, birds chirped, flowers bloomed, the air was sweet and balmy. The man explored the garden until he came upon a row of beautiful rose bushes. He remembered that Beauty had asked him to bring her a rose. He reached out to pluck one, but just as the stem broke, he heard a loud roar behind him. "Who told you that you might gather roses in my garden?" said a low, gruff voice. The startled merchant turned around and saw a fearsome creature who was half man and half beast. "What?" said the beast. "Is it not enough that I have given you dinner and a place to wait out the storm? You must also steal my roses." "Please forgive me," said the merchant, falling to his knees. "I tried to find you to thank you for the meal. I will pay you for it if you like. As for the rose, I only wanted it for my youngest daughter, Beauty. Her only wish when I left was that I return with a rose for her. Your gardens are so magnificent, I did not think you would miss a single rose." You are very ready with excuses and flattery, the beast said, but that will not save you from the punishment you deserve. Oh, forgive me, said the merchant. If not for my own sake, then for the sake of my daughters. If I do not return home, there will be no one there to support them. There was a long pause, then the beast spoke again. I will forgive you, he said, on one condition. You must send one of your daughters to live with me. Go see if any of them is brave enough and loves you enough to save you from a life in my castle. If one of them will come, you may send her to this place. Otherwise, you must come yourself and face your punishment. When the storm was over, the merchant returned home. He gave his daughters their presents, a gown for the eldest, a diamond necklace for the second, and a rose for Beauty. The oldest sisters were delighted, but Beauty could sense that something was wrong. Father, she said, why did you sigh so deeply when you gave me that beautiful rose? In a few days I will tell you, said the merchant, but for now, let's just enjoy being together.